Okay, in this video we're going to talk about tripods and different tripods you can use and maybe how and where to set them up. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some tips and tricks and also how to change cameras in the middle of a demonstration if you're live or if you're doing it for a video. So let's go ahead and get started. So for tripods, there's so many different options out there. They go from very little to very expensive. The basic standard tripod is going to do a lot of what you need, and you can buy those. They're priced anywhere from $50 to probably $500 for good professional ones. Obviously, the more you pay, the more features you're going to get, the easier it is going to be to sort of swivel it and move it the way that you need it. The picture you see here is my current setup, the one that I'll show you here in a second. I'll show you what the video looks like. But it's just basic tripod. It's got a shoe, what they call a shoe, that you screw into the camera. All right, this is one way to work. Another way to work is actually something called a GorillaPod. The GorillaPods are great because they're small, they're lightweight, and they're easy to place somewhere. The great things about these is you can take the legs like it shows there and wrap it around a tree branch. Now, you're not going to have a tree branch, but you might have a mic stand or something that you can set the tripod on top of, and the GorillaPod is a great way to attach your camera. More of an extreme measure, I'm just showing you these if you really need that out of the box solution on how to demo something. GoPro mounts. You need this little thing right here. It's an adapter to make it so it'll go onto a standard camera. But they have head mounts. Now, I would obviously not use that one with the Handycam that I showed in another video. But you could actually put a webcam on top of one of those as well. But they make different clips and just all kinds of different things. They make a chest mount. But I think, my biggest issue with the head mount is you moving your head around just a little too much. But it might be worth trying. Now, as far as the GoPro cameras themselves, I don't recommend the latest GoPro 8 because actually my son has one of those. I wanted to use one, but the problem is there's no good way to get the video out and into the computer in a live manner. Some of the older versions you can, but not the current one. Okay. So let's talk about some different zoom settings. Let's talk about how do you change your camera. Well, just in your videos yourself, you can choose from any different camera that you're using. So right now, that's a picture of what I currently use. So let me just escape out of this and let me just show you how this works. So this is me with my, now obviously this is a background. I'm not actually in my drafting lab. So, and to get to that, that's a virtual setting for virtual background. I'm going to shut that off for this because it's going to get really annoying. You're not going to want to use the virtual background when you're switching cameras because it moves it to each new camera. Well, here, let me just show you. So if we switch this to my demo version, which is this one right here. Okay, you can see it's trying to put that background on us, so we don't want that when we're switching between the cameras. Okay, so all you have to do is go down to this arrow. You can easily switch it to anything you want. Now, this is just another camera that I have set up, and there's actually my setup right there. There's also the little webcam that you could also use as well. But these are really easy to switch back and forth to. And you got to make sure you hit that arrow and not hit that stop video. Here is another camera that I have set up. It just happens my second display had a camera too, so I can use either one. This is how I was showing you that last little bit of video. Okay, and so that's one way to do it. And if you're using Zoom, many places are coming onto that. My university didn't use it last semester. We're switching over to Zoom, which I think is really going to be easy. Now, let's say you're doing this as a recording. And by the way, Zoom can do these recordings. You don't have to use something else. But let's say for some reason you can't switch it in the middle of whatever program you're using. Then you've got to find a camera switcher app. Had a lot of trouble finding these. I found one for the Mac, and I know there's some for the PCs. I just don't know that much about them. The one I found was Multicam. Okay, now Multicam This is in the Mac App Store, so it's really easy to find. It was under $5. Okay, but let me pull that interface over. This one is really, really nice. Oh, also something too, even going back to Zoom, something I completely forgot about was, I didn't know this, but there is a keyboard shortcut. It's looks like Shift Command N to switch between the different cameras. Learn those keyboard shortcuts. Same thing's true for Handycam. I just can't remember what they are right now. But this one's kind of nice because you can easily just switch from this camera to that camera, or this camera to that camera. So I'm going to pull this over to my other screen for a second so I can show you. If I hit this output button right here, okay, it's going to output to my other screen. So let me pull this over here so it outputs to the screen you're looking at. So I just hit output. Then it takes over that whole screen, and then I can easily switch between my different cameras. If you want, you can have it, there's a button you can click that dissolves between them if you really want to be fancy. But I use this a lot, switching back from my camera to the computer to the different demo that I was doing. And again, this is Quick Cam. All right, let's do some tips real quick. Okay, the first is use a light background. So you notice I put down a bunch of pieces of paper here, and the reason is earlier I decided I was going to change out. I showed you my. Here, let me show you this again. So you see this nice white sheet that I have up, and I changed it out earlier. It wasn't this one; it was a completely different one. It didn't look like that good, so I thought I'd change it. So I put a dark blue one up there, and the second I did that, all of my lighting started blowing out, and I couldn't see anything. Then I remembered the same thing's true for my document camera back at work. Whenever I put a piece of paper down, whenever we wanted to do a resume and show a resume, I always had to put another piece of paper under it, and we had to zoom in so that it was all white. If this table is naturally a dark table, same thing was happening here. You couldn't actually read anything that would have been written on this piece of paper. You couldn't even see the lines because the contrast was so blown out. It was working really hard to try to see it. So make sure you use a light background. It could be something as simple as a bunch of sheets. A piece of paper put down like this. Okay, so that's my first tip. Second tip is find the best position for the camera. You know, as I was showing you earlier, for this one, this is backwards. So see, this is actually upside down. If I were to write on that piece of paper, it would be wrong side up. For a lot of demos, it's not going to matter right side up, upside down. But some it might. If you're painting or drawing, it's going to look weird being upside down. So in this case, I'm going to want to pull the camera around to the other side of the table. The problem with that is the tripod's going to get in the way. So then you got to either find a creative solution for the tripod or find a way to work around it. And I did it a few times, and it really wasn't that hard. Okay. Second is mirroring video. In your settings for Zoom, if you click on the video settings, one of the things is mirror my video. Now I'm currently not mirroring my video. Let me go over here so you guys can see. So I'm currently not mirroring my video, and you can easily see, and you can read, whoops, the name USITT. But sometimes the video will get inverted, and you'll actually want to mirror it, so that you're actually matching what's going on. So like if I'm actually lifting my left hand, then it shows up on the left of the screen. I typically run with mirroring on, but I'm not today because of the logo on my t-shirt. Okay, second is move your sound. All right, so if you're doing a live demo and you're talking to them in the computer, and then you go over, and I'll just show you this real quick, and then if you go over to do the live demo, now all of a sudden they can't hear you. All of a sudden they can't hear you anymore because you left your sound over at the other at the computer. So either make sure you pick up your sound and move it over with you for the demo, or put it in between the two so that when you're talking here it's fine, and when you're talking here it's fine. And let me switch to this camera so you can see that. So I'm just kind of like placing it right here in between, so when I'm talking this way it's fine, and I'm talking this way it's fine. But you got to think about your sound and how you're moving. Now, one option could just be headsets, but and second is rehearse it. Okay, if you're doing it live, get on with some friends, try it out. I did that every single time. Not every single time I did a demo, but I did it every time you do a new setup. I hadn't done one of these in a long time. I'm getting on here and I'm doing it. I'm going along, and I didn't rehearse it. I'm like, I got this. I've been doing this for a long time. And I actually got a phone call in the middle of it. It was my wife, and I forgot to silence my phone. So I got like 10 minutes into this first video. I go and hit playback. I didn't have the sound setting right. Okay, so always make sure you do those settings. Always make sure you do practice the camera at least once. Okay, and my last tip for the day is going to be zoom in as much as you can. Okay, so when you're doing a demo, say, let me get back to this one here. You just want to zoom in as much as you can. Zoom into the 8-ball, zoom into the painting that you're doing, because if you're too far zoomed out, they're not really going to be able to see what you've got going on. Okay, that's all I have for this subject, and I'll be back with you soon.